Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is the Black Manga Critic, and we're back with another review for the channel. Now, we're going to be talking about Hikaru no Go Volume 1, as it says in the title, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that first volume does such a great job as a first volume. Before I get into that, I just want to say again, if you want to become a patron, or if you're already a patron, thank you very much. And it starts as low as $2, so if you want to join that tier, great, fantastic. If you also want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, all right, please do. All right, you can find me at the Black Manga Critic on YouTube. And if you want to subscribe, awesome. Also, if you're watching this video on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment below. If you're watching it on Patreon, leave a comment below. Leave a like as well, all right, if that's something that you want to do, all right? Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter. It means a lot to see people on Twitter and to be able to engage with people on Twitter. That's always fun. And that's all I'm going to say for now about that stuff, because I really want to get into this review and I really want to talk Hikaru no Go. So, one thing I did say is that I want to talk about how this first volume does a great job as a first volume. And what does that mean? It means that the volume does three things. One, it leaves you wanting more. It makes you want to read the second volume, the one that comes after that. Two, it introduces compelling characters that are great and you want to know more about. Three, it shows you that from the first chapter all the way up to the last chapter of the volume, a lot has happened, and that also leaves you feeling very satisfied. It's not just that the characters are compelling and that you want to read more about, and that you want to learn more and read more about the characters, but you also feel satisfied with that one volume, right? It's not just that Hikaru no Go is a whole series. But if you're starting a series, you got to make sure that people feel like, oh, I read a lot and that was great. And even if I decide to stop reading it at this volume, it was pretty satisfying. So we're going to definitely get into the characters because we got to talk about the characters, all right? And we're going to summarize a little bit about sort of what happens as we're sort of talking about the characters. Now, one thing that I really appreciate about Hikaru no Go and why it's one of my favorite series of all time is that the characters are really compelling, like I've said. We have this first protagonist, Shindo Hikaru, who is not interested in playing Go at all. He's this little elementary school or primary school child. He doesn't want to play Go, no interest in it. But we get introduced to this second character, Fujiwara no Sai, who really wants to play Go and is really invested in Go. And he's been invested in Go for hundreds of years. Okay. One thing that I love about their dynamic from the get-go is that Sai wants to play Go, but it's not enough for Sai just to want to play Go. There's got to be something in Hikaru that makes him sort of want to play Go for Sai, right? Sai can't just force him to play or anything like that, because that would be, to me, quite problematic. But it's that, oh, okay, Hikaru wants to play a little bit, and maybe he'll indulge Sai in playing, and that's great. And it starts us off sort of seeing like, will Hikaru develop as a Go player in certain ways? Will he want to play more Go and that sort of thing? So as we see throughout the volume, when we move through the first chapter all the way up to the 7th chapter, we've seen that there's quite a bit of change in Hikaru as a character. In the first chapter, he's just sort of like, oh, this is a gold board, whatever, I don't really care. He's even sort of reluctant to play Go, but then what we see is that there's a pretty gradual shift. And by the 7th chapter, he's trying to figure out a puzzle on his own. He's invested in Go to an extent. He's not like, oh, I want to play Go, but it's like he's interested, and that interest wasn't there initially. So that's the sort of growth that we kind of like to see, and it's a very organic growth from the first chapter all the way through the 7th chapter. I think as readers, we feel like Hikaru has grown in some way and he's developed in some way. First, didn't want to play Go at all in the first chapter. By the 7th chapter, the man's trying to solve puzzles by himself. Very, very good stuff. What I also really like is the way that Sai developed alongside with Hikaru. Or at least, not to say that like developed, but his characterization is sort of there, right? A bit about who he is, where he came from, and how that's going to affect Hikaru in a sense. What we see is that Fujiwara no Sai is this Go instructor and a really phenomenal player from the Heian period, and had actually lived a great life until a rival of his, who was also a great Go player, wanted to, and was also a Go instructor, was like, hey, we should figure out who's going to be the instructor for the monarch of the period. And Sai's like, okay. And he's pretty confident in his skills. But that other dude is a jerk and cheats, and then has the gall to be like, you cheated, Sai, in front of everybody. And everybody essentially believes him. And Sai can't get over that during the match, and he loses. And he can't get over his frustration and his shame as because people see him as a cheater now. And then he throws himself into a river and commits suicide. And that's pretty intense. It's pretty heavy for the beginning for a first chapter. But it's important because I think it's a big part of what sort of sparks Hikaru to just play at all, right? Because if Hikaru doesn't have that spark, Sai ain't playing no go, right? Not really. He's not playing no go, or at least he's not going to play in the way that he needs Hikaru to play if he's gonna get like some games in. So again, it's great to sort of see Sai sort of develop, right? And that be developed as a character, right? His characterization. And we see a bit of that, and we know a bit about him, and that sort of endears us to him a little bit as someone who seeks to play the divine move, as someone who is a Go player that is very passionate about the game, as opposed to Hikaru, who is just like, I don't really want to play this game. But we know that, if we read sort of manga like these before, or if we read stories with rivalries in general, or if we read stories with mentor figures, we know that Sai is going to be a mentor figure, and that Hikaru is going to be the mentee, right? He's going to learn quite a bit from Sai. So that starts off a bit. And Sai kind of pushes him a little bit and say, hey, we should play some Go. You should learn a little bit about the game. And Hikaru's like, okay, I'll learn a little bit about the game. So he goes to a Go Institute. He figures some things out. And as we're going through these chapters, right, and as Hikaru is learning about Go, Sai is also kind of taking this in, and he's really happy about the fact that not only can Hikaru learn Go, but he can learn quite a bit about how Go has changed since his first cohabitation, right? Because he inhabited a very important Go player. By the end of chapter 1, we learn that the Go player that he inhabited is widely regarded as the best Go player of all time. So that signals to us that Sai is no joke, right? This dude is no joke. Not only is he no joke, but he might be the best Go player of all time. So Hikaru has a very, 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 very good teacher in Sai. Now, what's also great about the way that Shindo and Sai have been sort of developed as characters and as compelling characters, we see that they both eventually meet Akita Toya, who is sort of our third protagonist, right? One thing about this volume that's great is that we get a lot of Sai, we get a lot of Hikaru, but we also get a lot of Akita. And we don't get Akita in the first chapter, right? We don't get him in the first chapter. The rivalry is not established in the first chapter. And I think that's great because, again, we get a lot of time for Sai and Hikaru to develop a little bit, so that by the time we move into other chapters and we do get introduced to Toya Akita, we're like, oh, okay, like, this should be interesting. But we also know quite a bit about Hikaru and Sai and how the dynamic might be between them and Toya up to that point. So what I love is the way that Toya Akita is sort of introduced. Initially, we think, oh, Toya, he's such a nice boy. He's so great. He seems pretty kind and fun and happy and joyous and that sort of thing. But then we pretty quickly realize that Toya is a pro level Go player. And this guy does not play games. When he starts to play Go, he ain't playing no games. And I think Hikaru realizes that, oh, I don't really know how to play Go. But I also kind of want to play against Akita because I want to, against Toya, because I want to kind of figure out, like, what's with this kid? Why is he so intense about Go? But Sai also kind of wants to play, right? He's like, okay, I want to see what this kid's about. So he starts, and then eventually we see that Sai just kind of like plays a bit of a teaching game with him, and he's like, all right, whatever, all right? But Sai also realizes that Toya is very serious, and this ain't no joke, and we can't make jokes about Akita Toya because this dude is a tiger or a dragon, right? He's like a tiger that's gonna become a dragon. Like it's gonna be really intense. So I love that because, again, one thing that we establish is that Sai is both a mentor figure to Hikaru and Toya. It's not that there's going to be some sort of like rivalry necessarily between Sai and Akita and Toya. It's that Sai sees Toya as someone who's going to be great, but is not at a level where he can beat Sai. So Sai's like, all right, I'm gonna mentor you a little bit through this game. Well, through 2 games. What I also really love about the way that this dynamic is sort of set up is how intriguing it is. Because usually we have a rivalry where it's like, okay, here's Toya and here's Hikaru, right? And they're gonna be rivals and da-da-da. But in this first volume, we get the idea that Hikaru is not really someone who's involved in these Go matches and the stuff that's going on. The matches with Toya included, right? Because he also plays a match with the Mejin, and it's not him playing the match, right? After that match with Toya, we realize, oh, Shindo has been sort of fired up a little bit, and Toya has been fired up a little bit. So Sai has done a lot of work in terms of firing both of them up. What we also realize is that, again, yes, Toya is no joke, but Hikaru still doesn't take Go seriously after that match. He's sort of like, all right, I know that Toya was intense, but I don't really understand why he was intense. And what's great is that Sai's love for Go and Sai's desire to play Go puts Hikaru in situations where he has to figure out, like, well, not that he has to, but he gets to figure out why these folks all around him are so intense about Go. Why is Toya Ikeda so intense about Go? Why is Toya Mejin so intense about Go? Why is Sai so intense about Go? And that's great because it pushes Hikaru a little bit. At first, he was a character that was sort of like, I'm not really invested in Go, I don't want to play Go at all, to a character that's like, I really want to figure out why these people are so invested in Go, and I kind of want to play a little bit myself. I kind of want to play like the Mejin plays. I kind of want to play like Toya plays. Because Toya is a child, but he's so enamored with the game. He's so passionate about the game. And where is this passion coming from? Because I think Hikaru doesn't really have that same passion about anything. So that's really great because it shows that this rivalry is not only about, oh, can I beat, can one person beat the other? But it's like they're both kind of helping each other grow in particular ways. With Shindo, we see that Toya kind of helps him grow in a way because he's like, oh, even though I'm a child, that doesn't mean that I can't be passionate about something and that I can't take something seriously and that I can't be really good at something. With Toya, it's like, I probably shouldn't underestimate people, and I shouldn't sort of be like, all right, this guy's probably a scrub or something like that, and that I have room to grow, and that I can be a better player, even though it's not Hikaru playing him, right? It's Sai playing him, but it sort of pushes him a little bit, and I really like that. And again, the rivalry dynamic is so different because you have to think, how's this gonna work out? How's it gonna work out? And the only way that it could really sort of work out is if Hikaru wants to play Go. And if he wants to get really good and get to Ikeda's level to play Go. So here we see a lot of that. And we see Hikaru starting to want to play Go, wanting to put the pebbles down in certain ways. All right? And it's awesome. Or the stones, right? The stones in a certain way. Whew. So, again, these characters are awesome. Sai is great because he sort of acts as a mentor figure both to Hikaru and Toya. Toya is great because this dude is no joke and he shows Hikaru just how passionate a child can be about something, in this case, Go. And Hikaru is great because he's the most childlike out of all of these characters that we've sort of seen. He's like, I'm not really invested in certain things necessarily. I kind of just want to have fun. Man, you guys are way too intense. What's going on? But he also realizes that I kind of like this. This is sort of interesting. I want to know more about it. He's very inquisitive, right? When he sees something that's really interesting, he's like, I wonder why they're so intense. And children are really inquisitive, like, from a young age. They want to know more about a lot of things. So it's great to sort of see that and to see Toya grow, Hikaru grow, and Sai grow from Chapter 1 all the way to Chapter 7. Again, one thing I really love about this dynamic, and I know I'm talking about the dynamic a lot, but I love it because I think it does such a great job of what I talked about, right? It introduces compelling characters. It leaves you feeling satisfied after you finish a volume. And you want to know more about these characters and you want to read more volumes. So what I love about this dynamic is that, again, Ikeda is just like obsessed and he's so downcast. And what's great about that is that this manga, I think, does a really great job of showcasing just how serious children take things, right? One thing I think that I don't like about some, certain series and things like that, or not even series, but individuals, is that people think that children don't have like complex, like, thought processes, or they don't, passionately care about things, or that those things that they care passionately about are worthwhile or worth thinking about. But it's like, yo, Toya is no joke. This dude can make money playing Go. All right, this dude can make money playing Go. So yeah, that's something that's something that you should care about. All right. And Hikaru is finding a passion. That's also really interesting, right? It's like you want children to find things that they're passionate about, to have things that they have fun with and that they're enamored with. And Hikaru, I think, is slowly but surely figuring out that Go could be something, well, or Go could be that something for him. The last thing I kind of wanted to say is that I really like how the volume just kind of ends with this sort of cliffhanger, and it's a great cliffhanger. It's a great cliffhanger because look, who's this kid? Who's this guy? How is it that he could possibly beat Akita Toya? We've heard that Akita Toya is a pro. He's amazing. He could solve this he might be able to solve this incredibly difficult puzzle. All right, he's beating adults. Who's this other kid? Right? He seems a little bit older than He seems a little bit older than Hikaru and Toya, but apparently he's really good. Also, why is he wearing a shogi? Why is he wearing a shogi robe? What's going on with that? So it's little things like that that make us want to read the next volume, because we want to know a little bit more about this guy. Who is he? Is he really as good as he says? And what's going to happen between him and Hikaru? Are they going to become rivals? Is Hikaru going to have more rivals other than Toya? Again, the ending of this volume is really great. It's pretty strong. We have all these characters who have their own motivations. Sai wants to play them, right? Sai wants to play the Majin and does get to play the Majin, and that's interesting. Hikaru realizes through that match that he wants to play some more. He might actually want to play Go, and again, Toya plays Sai and realizes, man, I have so much more that I have to learn. Like, this is just a level way above me. And is Hikaru that good, or is something else going on? And that's a mystery that we want to know more about, right? We read the first volume and we have so much that we learned. We learned a lot about who Toya is as a character. We learned a lot about who Hikaru is as a character, and we've learned a lot about who Sai is as a character. And all of these things come together to make something that's very compelling and interesting and engaging, and we want to learn more. So thank you for watching this review of Hikaru no Go, Volume 1. Hopefully I sort of talked about why these things are why this volume makes for a great first volume, and why it's compelling, and why it leaves you wanting more, and why the main sort of characters are so great. I'm going to definitely put out some more content. I have a video planned for Yona of the Dawn Volume 1. That's something that I'm definitely looking forward to doing. My second Alita video is going to be coming out fairly soon, probably sometime next week. And yeah, again, follow, me on Twitter. Check me out on Patreon. All right, $2 to start. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. It means a lot. Leave a comment, definitely. If you want to leave a like, that's great. But the comments, to me, mean so much more. I love seeing the comments. Let me know what you thought about the review. I'm the Black Manga Critic. I'm going to be putting out some more videos for volumes. And I'm out ya.